a massive welcome to this incredible panel of speakers. First up, I would like to welcome to the stage the internationally renowned and much loved broadcaster, writer, campaigner, and director of creative diversity at the BBC, June Sarpong, ladies and gentlemen. And next up, we have Lisa Goodchild, the founder of Digilearning, the amazing organisation behind Flourish. And now, Sadia Abubaker, young leader, podcast host and community consultant for the Welsh Government. And finally, Evelyn Oluwole, Northern Europe's managing director at Takumi. Take it away!
I've got heels on. I nearly fell down on the steps. It's the first time I've worn them in about a year and a half. Lovely to see so many amazing faces in here. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate the support. As you all know, we are Digilearning, and there is my fellow founder, Sarah, who often tries to hide and get out of going on stages. Make sure you tap her. She's got a really cool pledge card, which you can just use the QR code. Who can't believe that big QR codes have actually found their way in history? COVID brought them out. So we are Digilearning, and our whole point, we're a charity, and we want to ensure that underrepresented, underserved communities get a place in industry. We are losing some of the biggest talent. And when you think of the music industry and the sports industry, they have clear paths. They put a lot of money, basically, in creating paths to industry. What are we doing in advertising? You know, lots of people are doing a lot of talking, like we do in advertising, but there's not a lot of walking. And I must say, Madfest, thank you for stepping up. Takumi, thank you for stepping up. Because that is what we need. We need people to step up. So I would like to introduce the fabulous panel, and I will let each person introduce themselves. So you all know this fabulous lady, June.
I've been called worse. I'm June Sarpong. I do many things. One of them is I'm Director of Creative Diversity at the BBC.
Sadia.
Hello everyone, my name is Sadia. I'm a student with Digilearning.
Woo!
Thank you for having me today. Yeah, and I'm currently studying at university and also working with the Welsh Government on the Race Equality Action Plan. So that's me in a nutshell.
Hi everyone, my name is Evelyn Oluwole and I'm a client director at Takumi, which is the global influencer marketing agency. So glad to be here.
So we all know that diversity makes a massive impact, just in general, but it makes a massive impact to the bottom line. So companies that are inclusive and diverse actually perform 20% better. They have double the amount of growth. So why aren't we actually looking at that and making a difference? So ladies, I've got a few questions.
Yes.
So what are the biggest issues for people getting into the industry, the advertising industry? I would like to ask you what you think, June, and what do you think are the biggest issues?
Well, I think there are many issues, but in terms of entry level, is ensuring that people from underrepresented groups, one, know the industry exists, and two, know that there's a place for them within it. And I think the onus is on advertising agencies themselves to go and seek the talent as opposed to expecting the talent to find them. Yeah. You know, if I think of my own story, I'm from a working class immigrant background, and I was lucky to get work experience at Kiss FM when I was 16. But they came to schools like mine to find young people like myself. I wouldn't have known that Kiss even existed. It was down the road from where I live. So what I would say is, if you're really serious about this, is to make sure that social economic diversity is at the forefront of what you do, and you go and you source the talent. And often, if you're taking an SED focus, many of the other groups that intersect fall into that anyway. So you're also able to attack some of the other areas that you probably have a lot of problems with. It's going out to find the talent yourselves.
Yeah, Evelyn, what's your thoughts on young people getting into industry and encouraging them into industry?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Again, and it mirrors exactly what June's saying. When I started in media sales, I didn't even have a clue what media sales was, what the advertising industry was. And even when I started within the industry, I didn't know where it was going to lead me to. And that was because I didn't see anyone that looked like me. I didn't see anyone that looked like me above where I was at. So there was no kind of indication of me deciding what my career path was going to be. And I think it's really important that, this advertising agents and the advertising industry really does put their money where their mouth is. So it's all great saying that we're doing this and we're really taking it seriously, but actually start talking about the steps that you're making to make it easier. So as June said, like, be in those places, go to communities where people are talking about these kind of industries, and where Black people, for example, as a Black person that I am, where they are, where are these Black communities and what are they doing? So there's agencies like BYP, where they really harness everything that they're doing around Black people and Black professionals that are really trying to break into industries that they don't know. Teach them the path, tell them how it is and what they need to do in order to get into those industries. I think we need to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point. It's something we do at Digilearning. We encourage young people to understand the roles that are actually in industry, because our state schools generally, the private schools are doing a better job. Obviously, people are paying. We are paying our tax money, but state schools generally are not actually presenting these roles that are amazing and that young people can get into. So we've got young people in Barbados, for example, that are getting jobs in the UK, working from Barbados. Now that's a game changer for industry, because they're getting people that think different, but also for Barbados, because the kids generally are only presented with the tourism element of an industry, whereas these kids are super intelligent, like they are off the hook degrees and they're working in supermarkets. So, if we can get these young people and get them routes into market, but that is it, as June was saying, we need to step up our game. We need to go to these places where these young people are. So, another question, ladies. What benefits does diversity and inclusion bring to a workplace? June?
Well,
Sadia. I've got a special one for Sadia as well. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
What do you feel that the benefits are? I think Sadia's in college, so it might not work.
Yeah, you're not working, yeah.
Yeah, so what are the benefits for diversity and inclusion?
As Sadia's in college, for anybody that's looking to hire, you better get her now. So make sure you come and speak to her after this panel. Well, the benefits are clear. You said it in terms of what it adds to the bottom line if you are a commercial organization. And if you are a public service organization like the one that I work for, well, the onus is on you to also serve your audience properly, because you're being paid for by the general public. And also, I think the thing that we often forget is actually it's also much more fun. I mean, it's so much more fun to work with people that are different to yourself and to have different experiences influencing your outlook on life. And I think that we need to sort of get away from the idea that it's a challenge. Also get away from the idea that we're only looking at sort of entry-level work as well, or positions, because actually the problem really isn't even entry-level. The problem is senior level.
Yeah.
And so what is being done within your organizations to nurture enough talent that are at sort of mid-level now to make sure that they progress to the C-suite? I think that's where we need much more focus.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid fact, actually. Again, with everything, with women getting into senior levels, with Black people getting into senior levels, it's not happening. And it really does need to happen. And we must create these pathways. Evelyn, what's your thoughts?
So I really think there's a buzzword that's been going around for a number of years now, which is very much around having a seat on the table. They're like, once you have a seat on the table, that's great. And we're seeing more and more people of color having a seat on a table. But let me tell you what the problem is. They've got a seat on the table, but they don't have a voice. And so what we need a voice. We need you to give them the opportunity to voice out their lived experiences. Their lived experiences are very different from, the white male, let's be honest. But that actually makes the creativity of what you do vibrant. It makes it exciting. And as June said, it makes it more fun. And actually what you get out of it is you get rewards that are actually, that have a revenue line against it. I read an article a couple of weeks ago and it said companies that actually put diversity at the heart of their business increase their business by 20%. Now, I don't know any business that's out here today that wouldn't want 20% on their bottom line. So get some diversity, please.
Woo! It's so true. Companies actually, with culture at the heart of the company, grow twice as fast. So, hello, it's business sense, but also it's cool. Like, we all love culture. We all love being here
And
today,
not just the
meeting
food.
people. No, not just the food. Although I do love a bit of jerk chicken, I must say.
Food is good.
Or jollof.
But people are better. So focus on the people, not just the food.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Sadia, I'm going to change this question a little bit because what we're asking is what can companies do to attract diverse talents? What do you feel that companies could do to attract you to a company?
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, the biggest thing is, especially as a young person, and it's something that Evelyn has already mentioned, and it's getting my voice heard. You know, I want to be seen and heard, especially as a young person. So I don't want to be working somewhere and just, I'm not seen, I'm just there for the sake of just being there. So that's very, very important. But also, as a Black Muslim woman as well, is that inclusivity. You know, are you actually able to accommodate for my rights? What do I mean by my rights? Am I actually going to be able to practice my religion? You know, am I going to be able to pray 5 times a day?
Yeah.
Is there a space where I can actually do that? And okay, if there isn't a space, are you gonna give me the time to do that? And you know, I won't face any repercussions for doing so. And so that's really important for me as a young person looking forward. You know, if I'm ever looking for opportunities, is I want to see an organization that is excited to have me there. Digilearning, it's, you know, it's just completely different what you guys are doing. I didn't know anything about this industry before, you know, a year ago, and now I know much more thanks to you and Sarah. And so it's about, you know, going to that talent and actually informing them about the opportunities that's actually out there and preparing them for those opportunities as well. And the last thing for me as well, which we've also mentioned today, is more action, less talk, but more action. Okay, so you're talking about more diversity, you're talking about a place that's more equal. What are you actually doing? It's not enough to say, you know, things need to be changed, and you know, we have a long way to go. Okay, where's your action plan? You know, we really do need to see that. So it's important to work within your organization and actually find out what do our colleagues want in this organization. Each organization is different, and so it's finding out what's actually needed here. And when you're able to find out what's needed, you're able to have like an action plan. You're able to have those points, and okay, this is what we need to do. This is what's going to make our colleagues much more happier, and therefore we're going to excel as well as an organization. So that's it from me.
Amazing, very good.
And
We are very proud of Sadia. She did get to interview Boris recently. Wow. Oh, yes, she did on Channel 4. We're very proud of her.
Well done. So, and just to pick up on what Sadia was saying, I think the other thing as well is to just have it done so that diverse talent don't have to ask for that. So, you know, the same with disability is when we're looking at reasonable adjustments is just get it done. Because just think how exhausting it is every time you start a new job, you go to a different department, and you're having to ask time and time again that, you know what, I need this. And therefore, you don't want to be like you're putting the company, you know, you're making it difficult in any way. So I think if you're somebody that truly wants to be inclusive, educate yourself on what those needs may be, and just get it done, and it's seamless. Because something like that, if you go to an organization that just has a prayer room without you asking, it says so much about what that company means where inclusion is concerned.
Yeah, totally. Evelyn, what's your thoughts on how they can attract diverse talent? What can companies do more? We know that Takumi, smashing it, they're attracting diverse talent because they're not just walking the talk, they're skipping, running, jumping, they're doing it. So what do you feel that other industries, other companies could be doing to really make a difference?
So I think I alluded to it earlier, and I think it's very much about just being present in those places. Go to those communities, speak to people within those communities and talk to them about the opportunities that you have, and not just I've got an opportunity at junior level. Inspire them about where they can go and how they can grow within that industry. Because actually, if you go to any, and I'm obviously making a generalistic statement here, but if you go to, say, an average advertising agency, yes, they may have a black face, but ask them about the role of that black face. It's probably very junior. And I think often the problem is that a lot of people, they see these agencies and they don't know what it's about. They see the media industry and they don't really know what it's about, but there's no one there that's actually helping them, taking them along the way. You know, give them the ladder, open the door, keep the door open, and let them know that there's an opportunity for them to grow within the industry. And I think if we can do that more, there will definitely be a change. And there's another thing, there's something that I believe in. It's every time when I want something, so for example, if I wanted a Mercedes car, the minute that I want that Mercedes car, suddenly everywhere I go, I see it. If you as a business decide that actually we want to make diversity and inclusion a part of what we're doing, and it's actually part of your strapline, what you will see is the opportunities, those doors opening that will allow you to actually go in and actually get involved. And I think people just need to walk it. Be really serious about it. Don't make it like a yearly conversation. Make it a daily thing that you're doing. And at Takumi, that's something that we do. So for example, our CSO has these one-to-ones with the CEO, and every month she's asking him, what are you doing when it comes to diversity and inclusion? What is your strategy? What are the things that you're doing to ensure that diversity and inclusion is really at the heart of everything you're doing? So be like us.
Very fair.
What she said. And the other thing as well is, to your point, if in the way that you get a car and you see everybody else has it, if you're not seeing diverse talent or diverse people where you are, you need to change where you're hanging out. That should tell you a lot. That means you need to put yourself in places where you're going to be close to that talent, because proximity is everything. So yeah.
Yeah, it's something, look, where I grew up in very underprivileged circumstances, so bottom of the pile of the council estate. I was basically a feral child, left to like my own devices. And then when you go out to industry, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. So sometimes people, you know, need just a little bit of guidance, need a mentor. Giving someone an hour's talk can make a huge difference to how they see a career or how they get a route to market. So it's really important to take time. And also, if you have young people or any people in your company that is from a diverse background, maybe has a disability, go out of your way to see how you can support them. Really think about, have a conversation with them. Ask them how they feel. Ask them how you think the company is performing. Get their opinion. Try and get them to be as honest as possible, because it might be pretty shocking how honest they can be and what your company may be doing wrong. So, but there's lots of people doing amazing stuff. So well done for all the amazing stuff that everyone is doing. So what are people doing as a company to make sure everyone is included and supported, regardless of age, sex, colour and hair? As we've recently seen with the Olympics, they didn't allow the swimming cap for the black swimmers. Let me tell you, my daughter's hair is very difficult to fit in a little swimming cap. You need them. It is not. It's a necessity, and it is really bad. And also, as we saw recently with some of the football headlines, with Sterling talking about Jamaica being rough and well, let me tell you, we live in London. London is just as, you know, got issues, and we need to recognise that. So, guys, June, what are people doing? I know June's got an amazing book called Diversify, and June has exceptional knowledge on this area. So what do you feel that companies are doing, and what can we do to make sure everyone is included and supported?
Well, I think there are a lot of companies getting it right on different, in different areas and with sort of different underrepresented groups. I think Unilever, when it comes to gender, no question, perhaps the best in the world, actually, when it comes to gender equality. And the progress that they've been able to make at every level of the organization. So if usually when you get to the top, if the diverse person leaves, you're like, oh my goodness, it's going to take us 15 years to be able to rehire in that image. But actually what they've done is they've created a fantastic pipeline. So there's a great whole swath of women that can come through at any level. So that they've done brilliantly. I think Timpson's, in terms of social economic diversity and the work that they do with ex-offenders, is incredible. So once they are fully reopened, we all need to be going to Timpson's to support. And then there's some brilliant companies on disability. The tech industry is definitely doing great things on disability. I've yet to see any organization getting it right on race.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that people are most uncomfortable with. And I think that actually the company that cracks it on race will become the gold standard for inclusion. Because the minute you can get the hardest area sorted, it just makes everything else that much more easier. So I would say, do not shy away from race. Do not shy away from perhaps the most contentious out of all of the areas of diversity and inclusion. Really go for it and see what you can achieve, and then become a gold standard for your industry.
Yeah. Sadia, have you spotted any brands or any people that you think, wow, they look like they're, including people, changing, making a difference?
Unfortunately, I haven't.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to add on to some of June's point. I think people tend to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
And so that's first where we're going wrong. You need to not overcomplicate this issue. And just be open. Just be open to learning about other races and bringing people in from diverse backgrounds. And once you're open to those things, I think we will start seeing a lot of change. And actually just ask people what they want to see and bring in those people, just like we've already mentioned today. At the end of the day, we're not talking about things that are difficult, and so once people are open to actually getting those actions and doing those things, I think we will start to see some progress, and then maybe I'll be able to mention a couple of names to you.
Next year, we need Sadia here, and for her to be going, that company is amazing. So guys, step up. Evelyn, what do you feel? What companies have you spotted? What do you feel that companies have been doing good?
Yeah.
Other than your own.
I know, I was just about to say, I can only talk about my own. I think Ben and Jerry are doing a good job.
Yeah, they are actually.
I actually think they're doing a good job, especially around social policy. They know that there's a conversation being had. So obviously, Black Lives Matter, when all of that was happening. And I think they did it really beautifully, the way they kind of got involved in that conversation, but really just showed the heart of it, like just saying, we get you, we hear you, and we're supporting you. And I think there are some brands that are doing, Sainsbury's tried, having the Black family for Christmas.
Yeah.
That was nice, and that backlashed, but
We love Sainsbury's.
I love
I'm an avid
Sainsbury's.
Sainsbury's buyer.
There's not many, to June's point. It's not many.
Well, look, there's been massive, the BBC recently did a study actually, and they sent out 100 CVs. They was exactly the same. The only difference was on one CV it had Mohammed, on the other CV it had Adam. Yeah. Adam got 12 replies, Mohammed got 4. Like, come on, this is just off the hook ridiculous. So, Sadia, as a young Muslim woman, you mentioned a few areas that they could improve in. But what can a company do to make the workplace more appealing and to encourage talent from an amazing, background and with an amazing viewpoint?
So, like I mentioned before, as well as just accommodating for people's rights, people's rights to practice their religion, for example, I think it's also just important to, again, what I want to see is just that action. What's your strategy?
Yeah.
Why are you employing me? Why do you think, I know I deserve to be here, but tell me why, show me why, because I don't want to just be that, that token. Sometimes you're just there for the sake of being there, And so I think it's important, again, to just be open. As well, Lisa, do you mind just repeating the question? Because I don't want to...
Yeah, as a young Muslim woman, what can a company do to make the workplace more appealing or welcome?
Yeah, so that's, I've already mentioned my main point, which is just, I don't want to ever have to compromise my values.
Yeah. No.
So that's the biggest, that's like just number one for me. And then again, I want to see that you're actually doing something, you're actually fighting towards racial inequalities, and that you're providing equal opportunities to everybody as well. So those are like my main 3 points in a very vague way.
Yeah, amazing. So we have an exciting day tomorrow as well. Our young people are getting given a brief from NatWest, and they are going to be delivering on that brief. They have to take this amazing new product and they're going to give a viewpoint. So please do join us on the other stage tomorrow for that. Ladies, it has been a phenomenal panel. Thank you. Guys, as I said, this is about action. So we want you guys to pledge. You need to commit. We are here. We've got a beautiful card, as I said, with a QR code, and you can just scan that and you can just tick a box. There's some really nice options on there. But come and talk to us about how you can be involved. It could be 1 hour, as I said, 1 hour to do a workshop, 1 hour to be a mentor. That's all. It's about small steps, but it's just taking time and doing it. And, you know, helping people get that little bit foot in the door, okay? So, ladies, thank you. Takumi, Madfest, you guys are amazing. Thank you.
Oh, no. They're not going anywhere yet. Before you go, I think we have a chance to ask you some questions. So I want to invite you all to ask some questions on the app there. I've already got some coming in, so I'm going to pin one. But before we go to that question, I just want to say, many people here working in agencies and brands. And, you know, we've seen some very warm, cuddly statements coming out of those agencies and brands, haven't we, about Black Lives Matter, about equality, you know, and they come out on Twitter, they come out and say these things. But what's happening in the hiring process? What's happening in the boardroom? How do we, you know, in these agencies and brands actually hold people to account? Because often we're the ones who are asked to put this stuff out, right? What do we do? Have you got any tips for people about how they can actually raise this in a non
confrontational,
self-sabotage themselves, but so they can actually affect change?
Who's that to?
Everybody on the panel.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of things you can do. I think it's about organizing, and so it's finding a sort of a group of like-minded people within the company that are really passionate about this issue. And I would go to your leadership with a strategy and some thoughts. And this is where ERGs can come in handy as well. And I think it's important to make sure that you have allies within that process. So it's not just the underrepresented groups advocating for themselves, but allies also advocating on their behalf and getting together and then going to leadership to say, look, we put out these statements, but actually if you look at us and you look sort of underneath the bonnet, we certainly don't represent what we're saying.
Yeah.
And this is what we think we should be doing to get there. And then it's a collaborative process as opposed to sort of finger pointing and calling people out. I don't think that works.
Yeah.
It's much more about coming up with a sort of a concrete plan.
That's a really, really good strategy to come in with the solution,
Yeah.
hold up the mirror, but then have the solution.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Fantastic. I'm going to just place up a question on the big screen if we can. June, I know you spoke about, you know, how exhausting it must be if you're disabled to have to continually ask for your rights and across other aspects as well. So here we have a question specifically about, you know, the invisibility of disability,
Yeah.
as, you know, in the diversity discussion.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's one of the worst in terms of the fact that we just don't consider it in the way that we should. And non-disabled people don't take any time to understand the lived experience of the different types of disabilities as well. And so, yeah.
Can you just explain how the BBC kind of defines diversity, how you actually codify that? Because, you know, humans have got
Diversity or disability?
Diversity.
Diversity.
How you codify it, because it's such a, people
Yeah.
are infinite, aren't they?
Well, we let people self-identify. And then in terms of my department's area of focus, so I don't do workplace D&I. I do all the creative D&I. And our area of focus to begin with is disability, ethnicity, BAME, but we're looking at a piece of work on whether or not to even use that term anymore. And then social economic diversity, because we're further ahead with the other groups. So that's the area of focus for us. And then within that, it's then drilling down with the groups within each of the various categories. So if you're looking at disability, physical, cognitive, sensory, and then obviously the various ethnic groups. And so we're taking that into account in terms of making sure that we have a nuanced approach for each of the different groups, because they're different. But I think you do need to focus. Sometimes it's to have impact, you kind of want to tackle maybe one or a few, get that, and then branch out.
And then I think we have quite time possibly for one more question as well. Just going to bring this up. Evelyn, I'd be really interested in your thoughts on this one. Working in Takumi, this is the question. Whatever your strategy, sadly, unconscious bias exists. How do you think, I'm not quite sure. Bay?
Beyond.
There we go. Beyond education, business should tackle this.
So something that we do at Takumi, obviously we work with a lot of different brands, and what we've seen certainly in the last year and a half is that whenever a client shares with us a brief, right at the bottom is diversity, and they're like, yes, make sure that the influencers that you put forward have diversity at the heart of it. But I think what we're trying to do is to try and drive them to think more strategically about what diversity and inclusion means. Do you mean you want a black person? Or do you mean that you want a disabled person? Tell us, define what that is. Tell us what you're doing in every stage within diversity and inclusion, what that means. And so for us, as an agency, we're kind of pushing back at clients and saying, tell us more about what you're doing so that we can then share with you the right influencers and not just a token one black, token one Indian, token one Chinese. Let's work with you to make sure that the content that's being produced is in line with what your brand stands for. So that's something that we're doing, and we do that quite powerfully.
That is fantastic actionable insight there, and anyone working with creative briefs can take that and hopefully deploy it in what they do. So thank you. I'd just like to give a really loud, mad fest round of applause to our panel. Thank you. And just one more plug. Don't forget, get involved with
Digilearning, Flourish,
initiative.
Step Up. I didn't get where I've got because people believed in me before I believed in myself. Yeah. June, she put me on the stage a long time ago. Mary Keane Dawson put me on stage. Ellie Edwards, Sophia, all these people, my bestie. Everyone has told me, made me believe in myself. So please, tell someone that they're good. Encourage them to do something. Help them find their pathway. Thank you for having us, everyone.